everyone, my name is Anthony Nathaniel and I welcome you back to another episode of Crash Mathematics for SS2. And in this course, we are going to be continuing from where I stopped last. And then in this episode, we'll also be dealing with trigonometry part 2. Now this part 2 of trigonometry will be dealing with the cosine rule. You will recall that in the first episode of trigonometry, we dealt with the sine rule, right? Now in this second episode, we're dealing with cosine rule, and in this cosine rule, it involves how to calculate the relationship, and it's basically the relationship between the angles and the side of a triangle. When you are given two angles, or rather when you are given two sides and an angle in an included angle, so how do you calculate the opposite side? So that is just what cosine rule is all about, and this rule can be used mostly for any triangle, not just a right angle triangle, because in earlier times in our SS1 classes we often dealt with only right angles. So but this time around we are expanding it to involve any triangle. So this is the proof of the cosine rule. Now assuming you have a triangle ABC, and then you have a height, the height of the triangle from A to H, and let's call this D. Now let's call this the height. This AD is equals to the height. Let's call this AB equals to side C. The length of side AB will be C. The length of side AC will be B. The length of side BC will be A in total. But in this case, this A is broken down, because if this one is X, let's CD be X. So from C to D is X. So if CD is X, so that means from B to D will be the subtraction of X from A. That will be BD will be A minus X. Now, having established those, let's go on to establish further using Pythagoras theorem. Now, in these triangles ABD, the hypotenuse square will be equal to the opposite square plus the adjacent square, right? So that means C square equals, or rather, in triangle ACD, hypotenuse square is equal to opposite square plus adjacent square. So B square equals H square plus X square. So we can also put it as this: B square is equal to H square plus X squared. Now we can make H squared the subject of the formula. So that means H squared will be equal to H squared equals B squared minus X squared. So that would be our equation 1. Now let's set equation 2 as the Pythagoras theorem for triangle ABD. So that's our hypotenuse square, which is C square, equals opposite square. Let's take opposite as H square. H square plus adjacent square is A square. Adjacent square is A minus X squared. Now when we expand A minus X squared, we will get, using methods, H square plus, when we expand this, we will have A square minus 2AX plus X square. Now we have this term, and then that means C square equals H square plus X square, H square plus X square plus A square minus 2AX. Now, but since we have this term, this H square plus X square term, we can substitute it as this, because B square is equal to H square plus X square. So let's substitute B square instead of H square plus X square. That means C squared equals B squared plus A squared minus 2AX. Now let's go on to this. Let's move on to this triangle ACD again. Now let's use cos, because the cos of angle C, cos C will be equal to what? Adjacent over hypotenuse in triangle ACD. That's the adjacent is X, cos C will be what? X over the hypotenuse is B, X over B, right? So that means if we cross multiply, that means X will be equal to what? X equals to B cos C. So let's substitute this value of X for in this equation 2. Let's call it equation 2. Substitute the value of X equals to B cos C in equation 2. That means C square equals A square plus B square minus 2A times B cos C. So this is the simple statement of cosine rule. So C square equals to A square plus B square minus 2AB cos C. So what this simply means is that the square of the opposite side will be equal to the square of each of the sum of the squares of each of the containing sides plus the angle contained, minus 2 times the product of the two containing sides and the angle contained. So for example, let me just give a little bit of illustration. For example, if you have a triangle like this, and this is A this is B, and this is C. And then between A and B, there's an angle C. That means cosine rule simply say that this C square, the square of this opposite side, will be equal to the square of one of the containing side A plus the square of the other containing side B minus 2 times AB, 2 times the product of the containing side, 2 times AB, then times cos C, that is the cosine, that's the cosine of the contained angle. That's the angle subtended by the containing sides. So C square is equal to A square plus B square minus 2AB cos C. So it also applies for every other side. For example, A square equals to, you can also write B square equals A square plus C square minus 2AC cos B. So if this is B, if this is cos B, and this is A. So for every side, you can also write A square equals B square plus C square minus 2BC cos A. So that's what cosine rule holds for a triangle, and it works for any triangle you want to use. So now let's apply cosine rule in this case. Let's quickly apply cosine rule to solve for the side of a triangle. And note, you can also apply cosine rule to solve for angles too, but in this, when you want to solve for angles, you make the angle the subject of this equation. That's how we can do that. Now let me give a simple example. Here we have in triangle ABC. Let me draw a triangle ABC. Assuming this is A, and this is B, and this is C. So we have that AB is 8.44 meter. Then BC is 7.92 meter. And then AC is B. And then we have our contained angle as 151.3 degree. So we have to look for the value of angle of side AC. Now you can make use of the cosine rule, which says the opposite side, which is AC, the square of the opposite side, which is AC square, will be equal to the square of the containing side, the sum of the squares of the containing side. The containing side are AB and BC, so the squares will be what? The sum of the squares will be AB square plus BC squared, then minus 2AB times BC cos the cosine of the contained angle cos B. So that means AC is symbolized as B. So B square equals 8.44 square plus 7.92 square minus 2 times 8.44 times 7.92 times cos 151.3. So when we evaluate everything, we will get our answer as, when you evaluate the right answer for mathematicians out there, you will get you can confirm the answer will be 251.3. Now we are going to look for the square, because B square is equal to 251.3. So B will be equal to the square root of 251.3. So that means this side B will be equal to, when we look for the square root, that would be approximately 15.9. Because the question says to 3 significant figures. Let's make use of that. So 15.9 what? Let's make use of the units. 15.9 meter. So this B, the length of angle of side AC, which is B, will be 15.9 meter. So that is how this kind of questions are solved. And to summarize up, we'll talk about cosine rule. The cosine rule is part of one of the rules that is used in solving triangles. Another of these rules is sine rule. So cosine rule is also applied in bearing and distance, if you want to calculate the bearing and distance between two or more points and locations. So, but this is as far as you can go, and thank you for watching. See you next episode.